Have you ever noticed that every time the market crashes, headlines talk about fear, panic, and destruction? Yet somehow, a small group of people comes out of it vastly richer than before? Most people believe crashes destroy wealth, but history shows that wealth never disappears. It just moves, transferring from the unprepared to the prepared, from those forced to sell to those ready to buy. That's why in this video, I'm going to show you 5 ways billionaires make money with market crashes and how they're using the same exact playbook as we move towards 2026. Once you understand how this pattern actually works, you will never lose money in financial crashes again. Number 1, they convert risk into cash before the crash. This is always the first move. Long before panic hits the headlines, billionaires begin quietly stepping away from risk. Not all at once, and not dramatically, but methodically. Market crashes don't come out of nowhere. They are preceded by periods of extreme optimism, stretched valuations, and excessive leverage. When everyone is already fully invested and confident, there are no new buyers left to push prices higher. That's when smart money exits. History shows this clearly. In 1929, Joseph Kennedy began selling his stock positions months before the crash, as ordinary investors were borrowing money to buy more. In 1987, Paul Tudor Jones reduced his exposure as valuations stretched and new trading systems amplified risk. Before 2008, investors like Warren Buffett raised massive cash positions while the public stayed fully invested. And today, the same thing is happening again. Warren Buffett is sitting on over $300 billion in cash, the largest cash position in Berkshire Hathaway's history. Corporate insiders are selling at elevated levels. Institutions are rotating out of overvalued growth stocks. This isn't fear, it's recognition. Cash isn't held because markets are guaranteed to crash tomorrow. It's held because cash creates flexibility. When markets are overpriced, cash preserves options. And when the crash finally comes, cash becomes the most powerful asset of all. It allows billionaires to avoid forced selling, ignore the panic, and prepare for the next move. Most people try to raise cash during the crash, not before it. But by then, prices are already down, income is uncertain, and selling feels forced instead of strategic. But cash alone isn't the full strategy. Because in every crash, there is a second threat most people don't see coming that we'll talk about right now, and it quietly destroys wealth even faster than falling markets. Number 2, they protect purchasing power while everyone else loses it. Sitting in cash alone isn't enough. Market crashes are always followed by aggressive government intervention. Central banks cut rates. Trillions of dollars are printed. Deficits explode. This protects the system, but it destroys the value of money. Governments and central banks always choose inflation over collapse because printing money is politically easier than allowing the system to fail. That's why the second move billionaires make is shifting part of their capital into assets that survive currency debasement. Historically, this has meant gold and other real assets. After the 1929 crash, investors like Bernard Baruch and Joseph Kennedy accumulated physical gold as governments devalued currencies. During the 2008 crisis, as central banks unleashed quantitative easing, gold surged while cash lost purchasing power. Today, central banks themselves are buying gold at the fastest pace in decades. China, Russia, India, and others are steadily accumulating it. This isn't speculation, it's insurance. Billionaires understand that during crashes, the real danger isn't just falling asset prices, it's the silent erosion of purchasing power. By holding assets that can't be printed, they ensure that when the recovery begins, their capital still has real buying power. This move doesn't make headlines, but it quietly protects wealth while others watch their savings shrink. And once capital is protected, billionaires move to the most misunderstood phase of all, the next number on our list, where crashes stop being defensive events and start becoming profit engines. Number 3, they bet on volatility when the system begins to crack. This is where billionaires don't just protect wealth, they multiply it. As markets approach breaking points, sophisticated investors position themselves to profit directly from the collapse. They do this through instruments that rise in value when fear explodes and prices fall. In 1929, Jesse Livermore built massive short positions as leverage peaked and confidence turned into complacency. When the crash hit, he made a fortune while the market imploded. In 1987, Paul Tudor Jones bought put options that paid off spectacularly when Black Monday wiped out over 20% of the market in a single day. In 2008, Michael Burry and John Paulson used credit default swaps to bet against the housing market, turning a global financial catastrophe into billions in profit. These strategies are risky and require precision, but the principle is simple. For the average investor, an inversed ETF on the market can be an alternative and a good hedge. When markets are fragile, small cracks can trigger cascades. Forced selling creates more selling. Fear feeds on itself. Liquidity disappears at the worst possible moment. When everyone rushes for the exit at once, even small moves turn into violent swings. Volatility spikes, and the instruments designed to profit from that chaos explode in value. Today, the same behavior is appearing again. Institutional investors are accumulating downside protection. Volatility markets are showing unusual activity. This isn't retail investors hedging retirement accounts. It's large capital positioning for a major move. Billionaires don't wait for the crash to start. They place these bets in advance, knowing that when fear arrives, it arrives fast. And this is where everything changes. So subscribe to this channel, because after volatility explodes and panic takes over, move number 4 on our list determines who merely survives the crash and who becomes wealthy. This is the point where the crowd freezes and capital quietly changes hands. Number 4, they buy the best assets when fear is at its peak. This is the move most people understand intellectually, but almost no one can execute emotionally. After the crash unfolds and panic dominates, billionaires step in and buy what everyone else is desperate to sell. This is the true wealth transfer. Market bottoms never come with confidence or good news. They come with layoffs, bankruptcies, and headlines saying the system is broken. During the Great Depression, investors with capital acquired railroads, factories, and real estate for fractions of their value. After the dot-com crash, companies like Amazon, Apple, and Google traded at prices illustrates as ridiculous today. During the 2008 collapse, real estate sold at 30 cents on the dollar, and blue-chip stocks lost over half their value. And yet, those assets didn't disappear. They recovered. The people who bought them during maximum fear didn't just recover losses. They built generational wealth. The same pattern played out in 2020, when markets collapsed in weeks and then rebounded with historic speed. Billionaires prepare for this moment years in advance. They create buy lists. They study balance sheets. They focus on companies with strong cash positions, low debt, and essential products. When panic hits, they don't guess. They execute. They buy when headlines predict the end of capitalism, knowing that fear is temporary and value is not. But buying at the bottom is only part of the equation. The real power comes from what billionaires do after the panic fades and the cycle quietly resets. That's what we'll see at number 5. Number 5, they use the crash to reset and compound for decades. The final move is the least visible, but the most powerful. After the crash and initial recovery, billionaires don't simply return to normal investing. They use the assets and profits acquired during the crisis as the foundation for long-term compounding. The first year after a crash often feels slow and disappointing. The real gains appear later, when assets bought cheaply start compounding from a much lower base. Assets bought at 50 or 70% discounts don't just provide rebounds. They create exponential returns when reinvested over time. This is how fortunes are built. Buffett's investments during the depths of 2008 didn't just double, they produced returns for years after. The capital gains from crisis buying are reinvested into the next expansion. This is why crashes matter so much. They reset the starting point. They allow disciplined investors to acquire assets at prices that make future growth mathematically inevitable. While most people spend years recovering emotionally and financially, billionaires are already compounding from a dramatically lower cost base. And when you zoom out, it becomes clear why this matters right now, because the same conditions that triggered every major crash of the last century are lining up once again. So what does this mean as we approach 2026? The signs are familiar. Extreme valuations, rising debt, and speculative confidence have marked every major turning point before. Valuations are extreme by historical standards. Debt is everywhere, from governments to corporations to consumers. Housing is less affordable than it was before the last crash. Speculation has shifted into new forms, from artificial intelligence hype to leverage in private markets. Central banks are trapped between inflation and instability. Manufacturing is slowing. Credit stress is rising. These are not random data points. They are the same conditions that existed before every major collapse of the last century. And just like before, the response from billionaires is the same. Raise cash, protect purchasing power, position for volatility, prepare to buy, then compound relentlessly. The difference between those who are devastated by crashes and those who profit from them has never been intelligence, luck, or timing. It has always been preparation. Subscribe to this channel then, because when the crash is already happening, it's too late to prepare. I'll see you in the next one.